On this episode of China Uncensored, James Bond villains have some pretty frightening technology, and the Chinese regime is a quick learner. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. You know, when I hear the Chinese regime is working on plans for a supersonic submarine, mining the moon, or developing hypersonic nuclear missiles, I can't help but wonder, maybe the Chinese military has been spending a little too much time watching James Bond movies. And then it hit me. Of course they have! The new James Bond movie Spectre is one of the few foreign films allowed in China this year. On opening weekend alone, it raked in $48 million. So it makes sense the Communist Party is learning from a franchise with a proven track record. So here are 8 James Bond villain technologies used by China. Number 8. Space lasers. The cornerstone of any evil mastermind's plan for world domination surely involves space lasers, like in Die Another Day.
The Western spy runs, but he cannot hide.
But what you might not know is that China is building its own space laser. It's the largest ever space project. The satellite will use massive solar panels to gather solar radiation and convert it into lasers to be shot down at Earth. But it's totally not a weapon, it's a space solar power system. You see, China has a bit of a pollution problem, and this alternative energy source is clearly the most efficient solution. Did I mention it's not a weapon? Number 7. Space Station. Who could forget that magic moment when James Bond tried to be Star Wars? Moonraker has that Gravity movie beat hands down. This is the secret space of the movie's villain Hugo Drax, who wants to wipe out life on Earth. China's pollution is already doing a fairly good job of that, so of course a space station is in order. Meet China's Tiangong-1 Space Lab, launched in 2011. China doesn't participate in the International Space Station. It has its own version, and it will launch new ones in 2016 and 2022. Obviously, this has nothing to do with vying for control of space. It's just for scientific purposes. Number 6. Intellectual property warfare. Remember James Bond's View to a Kill?
I propose to end the domination of Silicon Valley and leave us in control of that market.
Christopher Walken's character is the result of a genetic experiment by Nazis. And boy, does he have a real microchip on his shoulder. He wants to literally flood Silicon Valley to eliminate competition for his microchip company. Now, the Chinese regime basically has the same plan. Only instead of literally flooding Silicon Valley, they're just figuratively flooding the market with cheap knockoffs of Western technology. According to the chairman and CEO of Black Ops Partners Corporation, Casey Fleming, intellectual property theft from China costs the US $5 trillion every year. And James Bond was written by a man named Ian Fleming. Coincidence? Yes. Number 5. Tanks in the shape of monsters. Normal tanks might be fine for a boring old army like America's, but when you want to terrify the likes of James Bond, you need something with a little more flair. In case you couldn't tell, that was a dragon tank. China wants to take it a step further and build a giant spider tank. And it will look like this. Number 4. Claiming islands in the middle of the ocean. Take a look at the secret island base occupied by the villain from Skyfall. Look familiar? Tiny island in the middle of the ocean, used as a secret military base? Well, China is building its own islands in the South China Sea and using them as military bases. I mean, for totally peaceful purposes only. Number 3. Satellite killer. Once again, let's go into space. In You Only Live Twice, the main villain, Dr. Evil.
Allow me to introduce myself. I am Ernst Stavro
Blofeld, has found a unique way to take out spacecraft. Well, China's got anti-satellite weapons too. According to U.S. Air Force Lieutenant General J. Raymond, every satellite in every orbit will be able to be held at risk by China's anti-satellite abilities. Now, China wouldn't do it exactly like the movie. They have anti-satellite missiles. They tested the first one last year. Number 2. Underground bases. Check out this underground base from You Only Live Twice. And guess what? It's full of ninjas. Well, China has scores of underground military bases, reinforced and almost impossible to destroy. And its soldiers totally know Kung Fu, which is kind of like ninjutsu. Though apparently Chinese soldiers are no longer going to do Kung Fu. From now on, they'll just shoot people with guns. And number 1, surveillance of everyone. If you've watched the latest James Bond movie, Moriarty is back.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the security services of the world to unite.
Spectre. Spectre is back. And this time, it wants global leaders to share intelligence data so it can spy on the world's population.
Do not let them tell you we need less surveillance. We need more.
And guess who else is into massive surveillance of its citizens? Yep, China. And foreign companies even help them do it. And let's just say it might not all be for fighting terrorism. Anyway, those are just a few of the things the Chinese regime has done that surely they learned from watching James Bond movies. What do you think? Leave your comments below and be sure to check out our Facebook page. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time. China's economy, growth so fast, it makes Jack's Beanstalk jealous. And like Jack's Beanstalk, China's economic growth is sort of magical, in that it's kind of hard to believe. So a few days ago, state-run Xinhua News asked on their Twitter account if the city of Shenyang was experiencing a fairyland or doomsday. Those things are easily confused, I know. You see, the pollution there was so bad, they couldn't tell.